Hello, hello, you lovely beings. Welcome back to Muse, the podcast where we're talking about all things creativity, personal growth, self-expression, and the ability to combine all these things and become even more creative. Use our artistic expression to share who we are and what we believe with the world. So if that's something that you're looking to do, this podcast and these episodes are for you. Most people don't have a creativity problem. They have a curation problem. Stick with me. If you don't edit what comes in, you can't control what goes out. In today's episode, we're talking about the missing link between consuming and creating. For anyone who is feeling overwhelmed, stuck, uninspired, or drowned by all the noise, curation is the one step that we don't hear about too often. It's kind of the piece that no one's talking about, but it shapes your taste, your identity, your voice, and the art that you create. But by the end, you'll understand why curation really matters, how it impacts the collective, and how to start curating your mind, your inputs, and your creative world. Now, think of your mind like a museum. Not every idea you have deserves to be on the walls, right? Not every influence belongs in the permanent collection that you're creating. Curation is the act of choosing what gets displayed and what never makes it through the door. If you've ever gone to a museum, they typically have information about the collection that is on the wall, what the artist was intending to share with the work that they've created, but also what the collection itself is trying to say, because the people that curated that collection put it together to showcase the artist's work in a specific way. And because of that, you get a certain feeling. You have a certain sense of not just the artist, but the work of the artist, the collection, the experience that you have walking around and observing and taking in the art on the walls or that are being displayed. Because of that, the museums and the curators themselves are very particular and selective about the pieces of work and the collections that they put together and why. And when they are picking these pieces, not everything goes up. They could start off with maybe 50 pieces of the artist and only actually put out 30 because of their selective curation of what they're wanting to share and express through the artist's work. What gets chosen defines the identity of the space. So we all know that we are shaped by what we consume. This isn't a new concept. We are constantly bombarded with information, with just things we're observing in our lives and experiences that we have, on top of what we are listening, watching through the internet. Through what we consume, the shapes that are taking place come from ideas, your taste, attention, worldview, desires, and creativity. But without curation, you become whatever the loudest voice around you is. And then you're drawn to these things that aren't necessarily your voice or your clear taste, but because it's the loudest, say like a trend, then that is the thing that becomes almost like your identity. If you never curate, you actually never meet your own voice. You just broadcast whatever got in first into your mind, into your thoughts, into your ideas. If we zoom out As a society, culture is built through what individuals choose to amplify. And if we're not in a place where we're curating our ideas and the things that we consume, we are unconsciously passing down other people's beliefs, aesthetics, and norms because that is what we're absorbing. Maybe that's the thing that's the loudest in front of our faces, and that's what we tend to regurgitate and put out again and again. As a collective, curation is an artistic responsibility because curators shape the collective archive. The things that we see, the things that we share, the things that become trends, we are, as creatives, putting out information, content, ideas that influence other people. If you don't choose what influences you, the algorithms will choose it for you. The algorithm is not an artist, though. In last week's episode, we talked about flow as movement, as something that we follow, and taste as the direction and discernment of the things that we follow. Curation is the filter that goes between these two aspects. What we really want is to be able to tap into a focused flow that comes naturally to us over and over again, to refine our taste and what makes our unique perspective unique and interesting, which then creates a coherent identity. So what happens if we don't actually pay attention to what we curate? If curation didn't exist, what's the cost at stake here? What we're going to get is noise, overwhelm, paralysis, unoriginal output, copying without meaning or substance, taste that never quite sharpens, flow that doesn't really go anywhere. We're just kind of in this like mid realm. Nothing is amazing and nothing is terrible. It's just meh. But I understand. If you've never thought about or actually ever curated anything, how do you even start to think about having your mind make these types of decisions? How do we adjust what we're inputting into our brains, what we're consuming? I have 3 quick little adjustments, little tips that can help you to start curating what you consume, how you start viewing the world around you. And then you can go into flow and taste. Number 1, reduce the noise. You do this by actually going through your digital media consumption. I would say this would be unfollowing people, muting things that are not actually conducive to you thinking about things in a different way, things that are actually interesting and inspiring to you. Mute that stuff, whether it's email, social media, literally anything that isn't actually creating and igniting curiosity and inspiration. Cut that stuff out. You don't need that. I would say minimize that as much as possible because that's just fluff all around, taking your attention that isn't actually bringing you any benefit. It's just noise. Number 2, raise your standards. Only keep what sharpens your taste, what ignites your imagination. You'll know what those things are because you're going to like feel it in your gut. You're just going to be interested automatically. It's something that's going to ignite and inspire you. An example of this for me would be me reading an article about behavior and neuroscience and how it impacts creativity. Something like that, if I were to read an article about that or saw a title, automatic save. Automatic, let me start taking notes. Let me put this somewhere where I'm going to reread it and absorb the information that is given, because that is something that inspires me. I'm already thinking about ideas of how I can maybe share this or learn from this article. Those are the kinds of content, those are the kinds of information, the types of work and art that you'll want to curate, that you'll want to refine, that you'll want those standards of work to be the things that you see more often and consume. Number 3, collect with intention, meaning save, organize, revisit only what truly resonates with you. The way that I do this is through digital gardening. I have a place and systems in place where I collect information, where I put things that matter to me, and I have specific ways that I go back to that information and take the marrow of them out and put them into either bodies of work, pieces I'm writing, videos like this for the podcast. I just have a way to extract and collect things that I'm going to come back to them again and again and create new connections on the things that I'm interested in, the things that resonate with me, the things that inspire me. So you really want to be collecting with intention. Curation isn't about having less things. It's about choosing better. In a museum, you'll see that they have what's called a permanent collection. This is the core influences of that museum that is always there. Then they have rotating exhibitions. These are temporary inspirations that come up maybe every few months or every quarter, something like that, where they're temporary, but in the moment, they're very important. They bring something to the collection, to the museum at that time period. And then they also have a vault. These are the things that are worth revisiting again, that they keep in order to maybe put out on a different time, or maybe it'll fit better in a different type of collection, future exhibitions. It's still there, it's stored. It's just not ready to be put out for the public yet. This is how you want to treat your digital and creative life. Having these 3 kind of systems or frameworks can help you to refine and collect information, collect inspiration in a way that will give you structure, will give you intention behind why you're storing information or things that interest you. Which one of these categories does this article fall into? Are they going to be part of the permanent collection? It's a theme or an inspiration that continually is revolving around who you are and what's important to you, you find valuable? Or is it going to be part of the temporary exhibition? So things that are just right now inspiring you, but it's not something that will last forever. It's just right now, this is piquing your interest. Or is it something that's just for you? It goes in the vault. You're going to come back to it later, and maybe it'll fit better with other ideas and maybe develop with other ideas and things that come up later. The main point here is having a curated mind creates a curated life, which then creates intentional art, and intentional art shapes culture. They're all linked. We're all influencing and impacting other people, whether we are 100% conscious of it or not. Anything that we share, even if it's not publicly, like these videos, and you're sharing with your friends, you're talking about it, you're posting even a story about it, is something that potentially will influence other people, which then influences other people, and so on and so forth, that it will evolve to potentially impacting the collective. Curation is how you can move from being shaped by the world to actually shaping the world, which seems like a super huge, daunting thing. But if you think of it as a way to create meaning and connection with others, I don't see why we wouldn't want that for our lives and for each other. I want to challenge you today to try choosing one, either your feed, the people you follow, a saved folder or notes, where you go through it and keep what's important, filter out the things that aren't, and start curating with intention, start curating with purpose. I think your future voice will thank you. This is something that I've been working on over this whole year in consuming and curating the things that I consume more intentionally. And I hope that this starts to give you a little spark of why this is important and how much it can actually benefit your creativity, your work, and your life. And ultimately, everyone's lives that you impact with the things that you consume and share. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. I hope you have an amazing week. And as always, keep creating. We'll see you next week. Bye.